Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Work Group Open House. We're so glad that you chose to come to listen and get informed on more information about our work groups. And we are going to get ready to start. This is going to be an interactive session, so if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand or put your question in the chat, and we will have staff members that will be watching both to let us know, and then we will be able to answer your questions. If we can't, we will get back to you with a response. So we have a few ground rules today. First of all, my name is Diane Doolittle, and I work in the Olmstead Implementation Office. I'm going to take a couple minutes to introduce our staff. We have our director of the Olmstead Implementation Office, Shelley Madore. We have Chloe Alf. We have Caitlin, excuse me, Caitlin Arello. And then we have Rylan. And Rylan, I'm going to mess up your last name. So can you say Eschens?
Ishins, you were close.
Ishins, okay, and Rylan Ishins. So that is our OIO staff that we have here today, and they're going to keep us on task and help out as needed. So we have a few ground rules that we want to review today. We want you to introduce yourself if you have a question and who you represent. We want you to describe yourself and surroundings so everyone can get a feeling for who you are. And if you feel comfortable, feel free sharing your pronouns. We ask you to stay present, giving your full attention to the discussion. Please share about the topic for this meeting only. If you have other topics you want to share information about, we have other methods that you can do that on our website. We ask that everyone put yourselves on mute so that we don't get background noises. And then if you have a question, you can come off mute. All participants are equal and have a right to share their ideas. Again, raise your hand, wait to be called on to share any information you may have. Keep an open mind. Be respectful of the process and other participants. And please do not share any personal contact information. Anyone attempting to share personal contact information will be muted. And as it was stated in the invite, this session is being recorded for your information to know that we are recording this. So our first question is, what is the Olmstead Plan? Because everything we do is based and centered around the Olmstead Plan. So at the state of Minnesota, we believe that if you have a disability, you should have the same chance as people without disabilities. And that is to live close to your family, get a good education, make a difference in your community, and enjoy your job. We want all people with disabilities in Minnesota to get the support they need to live their life to the fullest. So the Minnesota Olmstead Plan is like a roadmap to tell us how to get there. It also has goals that helps the state of Minnesota move closer to our vision. And if we're successful in achieving our goals, then we know we're going in the right direction. But you just can't set a goal and hope it happens. You need a plan to follow. So the Minnesota Onset Plan is also a roadmap to help the state of Minnesota reach their goals. I'd like to mention also, if you are in need of the ASL interpreter services, please click by the name of Michael is shown as ASL and pin him, and you will be able to see him throughout the presentation. So what is the Olmstead Implementation Office? So we introduced the members of our office, but the Olmstead Implementation Office is a team of people who work with the Olmstead Subcabinet. Now, the Olmstead Subcabinet is made up of 11 state agencies, and there is led by the commissioners for those state agencies. The OIO team, which is the same as the Olmstead Implementation Office, has two main jobs. We track the state's progress on the Olmstead Plan goals and report the results to the Olmstead Subcabinet and to the general public. We also help people with disabilities, their families, and supporters share ideas about how to make the Olmstead Plan better. We continuously reviewing to get it better and as best as we can. People can share their ideas at public meetings or contact our office. And you'll see that some of the information here have links, they're live links. This presentation will be shared with you with the survey that will come out after the meeting so that you can click on the links and find out more information about the items that are linked here. So why work groups and what are they? So in 2019, Governor Walz signed an executive order, it's Order 19-13, asking the subcabinet, which we spoke about in the last slide, the members to look at new opportunities to address the needs of individuals with disabilities. So these needs include, but are not locked into, removing barriers to provide services to people in the most integrated setting, address inequalities that don't allow people to live, learn, work, and enjoy life in their communities, and find ways to improve the health and welfare of people with disabilities. There are other needs we know that are out there, but these were the three that we're looking at for the work groups. In response to the executive order, the Onset Subcabinet authorized the work groups to explore 5 different topics. We began the work groups in June 2021. We just finished that work group session and we will start our second cohort in August. Each of the work groups include members from state agency staff, service providers, and people with disabilities who can just share their life experiences on the topic and also allow the groups to explore ideas for about 9 to 10 months and then make recommendations to the subcabinet. So these are the 5 work groups that were formed. Is the data collection practices, prevention of abuse and neglect, workforce shortage and people with disabilities, affordable, safe, and accessible housing, juvenile justice, and special education. Again, they met for an average of 10 months. All the meetings were held virtually on Zoom. We conducted 6 community input events, and the community input events were events that were geared towards the topic of the specific work group. For example, the Affordable, Safe, and Accessible Housing work group had 2 community input events. These events were open to the public, and the purpose was to provide information from the work groups, whether it was survey questions or top barriers that members experience, to gather that input from the community and bring it back to the work groups to help them as they navigated through this work to come up with their final recommendations. These events were held during the lunch hour, in the evening when people were off work, and some were even held on Saturday mornings just to give us an opportunity to allow as many people as possible to participate and provide information. We also had a space on our website where you could provide information also if you were not able to attend these events. They were small groups that met. These were members of the work groups that met in smaller groups to address specific needs or topics that needed to be have an opportunity to dig more into the information, bring that information back to the larger groups, and then to incorporate that into their work also. So there were different processes to try to get the information for as many people across the state of Minnesota as possible. So you may be thinking, why did we invite you to this open house? Why do we have the application process? Why are we asking you to consider being a part of our work groups? So this is hopefully going to answer your questions. Different points of views are needed and valued in the work groups. We all come from different areas. We all have different experiences. And so we want to bring those collectively to the tables to help us as we make decisions. Everyone has something to contribute. We all know that. We asking you to share your information with your networks. If we have 10 people sharing with their different networks, we can expand how far that reach goes to share the information with others. And then after you share the information, we want you to come back to the work groups and provide feedback from your communities and the networks. This collaboration with community partners, the members and state agencies has been phenomenal. This is our first time doing the work groups. And when we finished in May, it was just awesome to see how our reach went out across the state and how we were able to come together as state agencies along with our community partners and our community members. So this is the schedule of the work group so that you can see what some of the expectations are to see how it fits in with your schedule. The work groups meet during the second week of the month. We'll be meeting from August through November and then January through May. So each group meets once a month. The meeting days and times vary depending on the work group, and those were listed in the application, and you'll see that a little later. Each meeting is scheduled for 90 minutes, and all meetings are held on Zoom. Accommodations are provided as requested. However, we do have cart services at all meetings. So if there are other accommodations you may need, you can request that and we will try to fulfill all requests. So along with that, with attending the meetings, we are asking you to attend the community input events. It could be the community input events for your respective work group, or we even invite you to attend any of the community input events just to listen so you can hear what the community is saying about different topics. We have our leadership forum and our sub-cabinet meetings. We talked about the Onset sub-cabinet, but we also have another group that's our leadership forum, who are agency leads that represent those 11 state agencies on the sub-cabinet. So we have both the leadership forum and sub-cabinet meetings that are held throughout the year. And we also do periodic updates to both of these groups about the work groups to keep them updated. And if we are requesting any resources, that's at the time we would present to these groups. We're asking you to attend those meetings as you can, because it's just very informative to find out what the workings of the Olmstead plan and any changes that are being anticipated or made. You are in the loop on that also, and it helps you in your discussion as a member of the work group. We're asking you to share, again, the information with your networks. Complete surveys. We send out surveys after the work group meetings, after the community input events, after the leadership forum and sub-cabinet meetings, and you will receive one after this meeting. So we ask you to complete those surveys because it helps us to gather information to help us as we plan our other meetings as we move forward. If we need to make any changes, if we need to change the type of survey we're doing, we just ask you to provide that feedback to us. And if you're not able to complete the survey, we do have other options through our website that you can provide feedback, and we would be happy to share that information with you. If you're asked to participate on a small group, we ask you to do that as your schedule provides. It helps to dive more into information, and we'll just provide more feedback to the work groups that you will gather from those small work groups to bring back to help them make decisions. We have an OIO newsletter that comes out monthly, and we have social media platforms. We're asking you to register for those so that you can stay informed of the workings of our office, the Onset plan, events, upcoming events that we may have, and it allows you to provide feedback through those social media platforms also. So the next steps, if you are interested in being considered to be a member of the work groups, we ask you to go out and complete the application on our website. If you haven't already, our application process opened on May 16th. It closes on July 5th. The applications will be reviewed, and those that are selected to move forward as a work group member will be notified in early July. Work group members will agree in the application to attend a training session on July 20th. We're having 2 sessions. You only need to attend one, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, or from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And these sessions will be held on Zoom also. The purpose of the training is to give you more information about the work groups, go through our work group binder, go through expectations, entertain any questions you may have before we start off the work groups in August. You can also go to our website to learn more about the Olmstead plan and the work groups, and we encourage you to do that. Do it before you fill out the application so you are informed, and then do it throughout the work group season so that you can keep abreast of changes, keep reminding yourself what's the goal of the work groups, what is the plans of the Olmstead plan, and it'll just help you as you participate as we move through this process. We ask you again to sign up for our newsletter and for our social media platforms. This is a snapshot of one of our work group pages on our website. If you pay attention to the banner right up under the name Onset Implementation Office, you can see the different areas where you can find out for more information about our office. You can read the Olmstead plan from clicking on the Olmstead plan link there. Get involved, that tells you more about the events that we have coming up. The work groups, each work group has their own page, and they have resources so that if there are documentations that is related to the specific work group, or if there is training coming up about a specific topic of the work group, we will list that information that we have under resources. And also, if you're interested, for example, this is prevention of abuse and neglect that's showing here. If you're interested on what we went through this last year during the work groups, the meeting notes and the recommendations, etc., you would just come here, and it's like a base for you to find out what we've gone through so far so that you're ready to just hit the ground running in August. We also have a link for contact information. So with that, we're going to go into what the application process, how to get to it, and information on the website. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Chloe, who is going to walk us through that process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Diane. My name is Chloe Ulf, and I am the communications specialist here at the Olmstead Implementation Office. I use she, her pronouns, and just as a description of myself, I am a white woman with short shoulder length brown hair. I'm wearing a white top with yellow flowers and have long dangly flower earrings on today. So as Diane mentioned, the website is a great resource for learning everything about the Olmstead Implementation Office. This is the homepage of our website, and you get to it by going to mn.gov/Olmstead. And on the homepage, you could come here to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media, as well as all of the other ways that you can learn about the plan, contact the office, register for upcoming events, etc. So today we're going to be talking about the work group application. You can find that either by going to just clicking the work group button there, and you can find it right here under how do I apply to join a work group. You could also hover over this and go to the application itself. This page will give you a little bit more information about the application. And then if you just click the button, it will bring you to the application. The first thing to know before you apply is that we do ask that all work group members are over 18 years of age. So we just want to make sure right off the bat before you get too far into the application. So that's the first question, hopefully a very easy one. The second question is, which work group are you applying for? Right now we have 4 work groups accepting applications. When you click the drop down, you can see the work group title as well as what day and time they meet. Every work group meets the second week of the month, but this is the day and time during that second week of the month. So for today, we'll pretend that we are going to apply for the housing work group. And then we just want to make sure, confirm that you understand that this is when it meets. And if this doesn't work with your schedule, you might want to look at either applying for a different work group or interacting with this work group through their community input events and surveys. The application does have quite a few questions, just so that we can make sure that everyone who's in the work group really cares about the topic and is going to be an engaged member of the work group. So for the first question, we are asking about why you're passionate about this topic within the disability community. We also want to know what kind of strengths or skills you bring to the work group that will have a positive impact. This could be anything. So get creative and think about all of the things that you're good at and what you'll bring to the work group as a member. Work groups are all about community advocacy. We do community input events and surveys. And so we are curious to know how you've advocated for your community in the past. And that could be any community that you identify as being a part of. The next question is, what do you feel like is the biggest barrier to the topic of the work group within the disability community? So for example, this question is, what do you feel is the biggest barrier to housing in the disability community? We give you a lot of space so you can tell us your own personal experiences, the experiences that you maybe encounter in your professional life, your personal life. What kind of experiences are you going to bring to the work group? After that, there's just your standard questions, your name, your contact information. If you are a part of an organization, then we are curious to know what organization you're a part of. We also do have one or two people leading the work groups. And if you're interested in leading the work group or co-leading the work group, you could indicate that right now in the application. If you're not sure, you can hit maybe, and we'll invite you to learn more about what that looks like. As Diane mentioned, there will be a work group training on July 20th. There's 2 trainings that day, one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And so we just want to know if you're able to attend that training. We also want to know if you would be willing to share information about the work group with your own networks. As Diane mentioned, it's really important that we have a lot of input at the table at these work group meetings. So that means that you might be asking your friends or family or coworkers to share their own experiences so that that can be brought into the work of the work group. The next question is if you identify as a person with a disability. We want to make sure that we have all sorts of identities in the work groups. And of course, identifying as a person with a disability will help you bring a different perspective to the work group. And we want to make sure that the work groups have disabled Minnesotans at the table. Finally, we want to know about where you live in Minnesota, again, so that we can have the entire state represented and not too heavily in one region of the state. So we asked about your zip code and then the county that you live or work in. It's also important to know that all the meetings currently are held online on Zoom, like we're using today. We just want to know if you have the technology that you need to access these meetings. We do provide CART captioning at every meeting, and we are just curious if you need other accommodations. So if you hit yes, you can let us know if you need, for example, an ASL interpreter or any other accommodations. And finally, if you want to subscribe to the OIO newsletter while you're filling out the application, you can just let us know and we'll make sure that we get you subscribed. So the application that's the entire application, and then you just hit submit. The application deadline is June 5th. I think earlier it might have been, we might have said it was July 5th, but it is June 5th. So you just want to make sure that you get this in within the next week and a half. And then we will be reaching out to people in early July about the next steps for the work group. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe. So we're going to go back to the presentation on my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. So now you have all the information that you need for the application process. So now here we have just a few quotes from some of the work group members that we had over the past 10 months and some of their responses. You know, one, I hope to contribute in meaningful ways. This has been a terrific opportunity to be a part of this group and just excited about the work that can be done, knowing that they can help make an impact. But not only do we have these quotes, we also have people in person here today that have been a part of the work groups and have agreed to come on and share their experience being on the work groups and here to help answer any questions that you may have regarding being a participant as a work group member. So we have Cindy Owen, we have Chris McVeigh, we have Joanne Brown on, and I don't think I see Kate on, but if Kate is able to jump on, she will. So I'm going to start out, I'm going on the direction of my screen. I'm going to do Cindy first, Chris second, and Joanne third. If you can unmute on your screen, Cindy, and share any information you may want to share with the group. And then after the three of them speak, we will open it up for a Q&A to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, this is Cindy, and I apologize. My voice is not 100%. I'm in the recovering from a little bout of COVID, so I'm glad we're Zooming. I was invited to be part of the work group for safe, affordable housing, and I was happy to be involved. I think my work, I do work for the ARC of Minnesota, and I've been working in housing for a while, and this was just a great opportunity to listen to other people, to learn from their experiences, and then also share from my experiences, not only as an advocate, but as a person who has some really strong interest in housing options for individuals with special needs. I learned a lot. I found the group to be, I think it was different in that there were a lot of different opinions and some real strong advocates in some of our conversations. And I really like the fact that I don't think we were ever given a message that said that what we had to say wasn't important and wasn't going to be considered. Differences of opinion at times. Everything was always handled smoothly. I think there were times when we took a step back and said, well, let's think about that. And to me, that's an indicator of a group that's actually trying to make some differences. I think I learned so much. I'm hoping that I can continue to be involved. I think the other thing I learned is how complex these issues are. I tend to want to jump in and let's get going and do things, and finding out that there's just a lot of planning that has to happen to make things be successful in the long run. So I'll stop there and just say it was a very positive experience, and I felt very much worth my time.
Thank you, Cindy. Chris?
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris McVeigh. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a Caucasian woman with brown hair and a bruise on my face that I got from walking my dog and doing a face plant about a week ago. So anyway, I was a recent addition to the workforce shortage work group. We've had people from, I work for DEED, Department of Employment and Economic Development. And my role is in an administrative position for vocational rehabilitation services. But we had a couple of really talented folks from both VRS and SSB, and then also a provider that supports people with disabilities in finding employment. And then I know that we had other contributors, including executive director from Merrick, for example. And the bottom line is our group, the Workforce Shortage Group, we recognize that Minnesota businesses, and this is true throughout the nation, there is a huge workforce shortage. And why would we not look to individuals with disabilities to help meet those workforce shortage needs of the Minnesota businesses that we know are desperate to find talent to fill those positions? I would say that our work was, and the work of the group, because again, largely I was coming in more towards the tail end of the group making recommendations, but we see a lot of opportunity. And I would say the fact that we brought together both on the state agency side, the community partner side, the individual contributor side, participants, people with disabilities, family members, bringing those people together in a virtual space, as I know we've just been talking about, is really hard work. And the progress that was made in this relatively short period of time was great, because you got people talking together and discussing options together. I'm excited about the workforce shortage work group reconvening. We believe that at DEED, our department, we've got specialists and folks that have a lot of information about labor market. We also have people that can help us identify people with disabilities that are part of that talent pool that can meet the needs of Minnesota business. So I think what our plan is and our hope is that take what this group has brought forward thus far, bring in some specialization of folks who can give us some guidance about industries that are just especially crying for excellent employees to fill their needs. And then also to help build that capacity around not plugging people into jobs that are just going to get them by, but really looking at career level family sustaining wages also as a way to support people with disabilities live their best lives, which includes employment. And that is not to say as well that we're not considering, what about people that don't have an interest in working full-time? You know, there's a space for people in competitive integrated employment for those that are interested in it. And we want to be part of that solution. So again, so grateful for what the group, workforce shortage group, has already done, but also looking forward to the next phase. Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Chris. Go ahead, Joanne, sorry.
Forgive me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joanne Brown, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm not always accustomed to saying that. I am female, African American, and I wear glasses, and I have a kind of almost shoulder length dark brown hair. I too was also a part of the workforce shortage and people with disabilities work group. So I won't repeat a lot of the things that Chris already mentioned as it pertained to the group, except for one thing that it was a great opportunity to network with people that were on that work group and hear the different perspectives. And I work for the Minnesota Department of Corrections and supervise employment programs. So working with those releasing individuals on their job search efforts, and to really take this perspective of this job search process and really looking at people that have disabilities in working with the employers to help them to look at their hiring practices and what can they do to make the adjustments so that they are considering all people for employment opportunities that are available regardless of their abilities or inabilities. And so that was really what I really liked about the work group, is really looking from that perspective of being able to educate the employer on how they could ensure that they're looking at all candidates. And I've been doing employment services for 26 years and have had participants that have, had disabilities, but never really kind of took a real specific detailed look at ensuring employers are being very inclusive in their hiring practices. So that's what I really liked about this work group, because it was really honing in and being very intentional about how can we help employers to educate, train, and what were ideals that people were sharing, how can we help train the employers. So that was really, really nice to be a part of those discussions in, the work that was done through this particular work group. So thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. So thank all three of you for sharing your experience. So with that, we're going to open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions for any of the OIO staff or for any of the work group members, please either raise your hand with the reaction button or either put it in chat, and this will be an opportunity for us to try to answer your questions. Stephen?
Hi.
Hello. I think you put yourself back on mute. So here they
Did
go.
I?
No, okay, now you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm as it says, my name is Stephen Rano. I'm currently housed in a group home. And my question is, how hard is it for a person like me to get housing in the community? I'm planning on hopefully moving out of this group home environment into my own place later this year. And I would like to know how to go about finding affordable housing.
So Stephen, we're not able to address those questions in this meeting because we're just talking about applying for the work group. But you can send information to our website and someone from our office can reach out to you. We'll be listing the website address at the end of the presentation, and you can respond to that and someone from the office will be in touch with you, okay?
I have one more question pertaining, and hopefully this won't take too long. I'm currently diagnosed with a mental illness, but I would like to be a part of a work group. So would that limit my chances of being a part of a work group?
No, that would not limit it. Go ahead and submit the application and it will be reviewed just like any other application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Laura?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Andert. I don't have a question. I actually got referred by my supervisor, who actually was a co-leader at the last session, and she referred me to apply for a work group because she thought I would be really good, as I have a disability and I know what it's like out there. And I have been my own personal advocate throughout my life on fighting for what I want and being a good advocate for myself. And I'm just so excited to apply and hopefully become a member on the workforce shortage worker. There we go. So I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. We're excited that you're excited and happy that one of the work group members reached out to you also and thought about you to be an asset to the work group. So we look forward to you applying. Thank you so much, Laura.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Richard?
Yes, okay. I wanted to get practice with using the microphone here, but I am curious how many members tend to be on the different work groups.
We typically target for about 25 individuals, and that number will help us to try to maintain a quorum for the work group so that we have enough people each month. So 25 is where we try to cap it off.
Okay, I am interested in a work group, so I'll put an application in online.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Richard. Shehan, if I'm saying your name incorrectly, correct me, please.
That's okay. My name is Shehan. I am a mom to an 11-year-old boy who has various medical conditions, but I'm also I work in social services, so I was interested in the abuse and neglect work group. My question, I guess, is a broad question about how do you guys ensure that equity is addressed in all the work groups, and how do you guys go about making sure that the outcomes addressed or brought up are equitable outcomes?
We have those discussions in the work groups. We welcome equity and diversity in the work groups and encourage that also. So it is looked at, and I would just say to apply. We want to make sure that we have a diverse population in our work groups so that we can hear from all communities. So I would recommend that if you are interested to apply, and we'll see where it goes. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone else?
Diane, I see a
Jenner?
hand up.
Jenner?
Yes. Yeah, my name is Gene Rossum. And I'm just wondering, there's the work groups set up, is there consideration all areas of the state? Because I live in rural Minnesota, and I find that things are vastly different in rural Minnesota than they are in the metropolitan areas in a lot of areas. So I'm concerned about the representation of people from rural Minnesota.
Thank you. We do welcome participation from all areas of the state. We've had members for as far as 3 hours north of the cities and further. One of the community engagement work groups we had a couple years ago, we had a woman that flew in from rural Minnesota to attend the meeting. So we welcome and encourage members from all areas, because we do know that members from different areas experience different barriers, and we need to hear that at the table and incorporate all as we look at the recommendations to move forward. So I would encourage you, Jenner, I think you said your name was Jim, because your face says Jenner. So I apologize if that's not your name, but we do encourage you to go ahead and apply. And that's the beauty of being virtual, that we can have people from all across the state to participate monthly and not have to worry about the weather, about any other barriers that may keep you transportation. So we do encourage you to apply no matter where you are in the state of Minnesota. Oh, I'm on mute. Any other questions? Are you seeing anything else, Chloe?
Yeah, Diane, I had one come in through chat to me for the work group members themselves, the ones that we have present today. And it's just simply wondering, why did they want to join the work group?
Oh, I can start, I guess. I think, is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think the main reason that I was excited to be part of a work group was a chance to listen to what other people had to say, to learn their experience, and then to share. I've got a fair amount of experience too, and it was an opportunity to give that perspective. I guess you would say the boots on the ground, the person out there working with landlords and property managers and families and individuals, and I just really enjoyed that opportunity to share with others.
This is Joanne, and pretty much the same response as Cindy. It was a great opportunity to network and again, share my experience, gain knowledge, to be able to take things that I've learned from my counterparts of the work group, take it back to my work within the DLC, applying those employment services, preparing people for their release, job search preparation. So it was just really good to hear different perspectives, to learn, share information, gain information. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to ask another question of our work group members. So I'm going to ask you to describe your experience on the work group in one word, just one, and then tell us why you chose that word. Just unmute when you're ready.
I'll go.
This is, okay, go ahead, Joanne.
No, please go ahead, Chris. I already talked. Go ahead.
Well, again, this is Chris McVeigh. I was on the workforce shortage group, and again, more towards the tail end of it. But the one word I would use is opportunity. And my plan is to apply for the upcoming workforce shortage group, and the opportunity to bring together multiple voices to the table, expertise, and a plan for how we can meet the needs of business, Minnesota business, by providing a talent pool of candidates that also happen to be people with disabilities as part of their recovery and as part of how we can, just mutually benefit from this opportunity, which is the workforce shortage. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Joanne or Cindy?
This is Joanne. Chris used my word.
I see. That's what happens when you don't go first.
I yielded to her, but opportunity, and she gave a great explanation. So I'll just leave it at that, opportunity.
Okay. Cindy,
Well,
did you have a word?
Yeah, I think I struggle with coming up with one word, but the word I'm putting in the front of my brain is motivating. I think listening to other folks' stories, learning about some of the behind the scenes things that need to happen. I think it was very motivating to say, let's keep going. There's so much work to be done and we're just at the tip of it. So it was motivating.
Awesome. Thank you. And for our last question, what advice would you give someone that's considering applying for the work groups, may be on the fence? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I'll jump in and say, first of all, check your schedule, make sure you can commit. But I think it's a win-win if you can make time in your schedule and give it the attention that it deserves. That you'll come back. The year goes so fast, so fast, and I think you look back on it thinking that it was a good decision.
This is Joanne. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose, provided, as Cindy said, it works in your schedule. Thank you.
Really playing on both what Cindy and Joanne also shared is really is an all hands on deck. I think for workforce shortage and some of the other any of the other work groups, we need to hear from a full spectrum of people and develop next steps based not only on state agency staff only, or community partners only, or individuals only. It's a collective effort that we need good people that are willing to pull up, roll up those sleeves and work together to move the dial. And in this case, it's around addressing the workforce shortage issue. Thanks.
Thank you again, ladies, for your participation. And again, thank you for all your work on the work groups. As the work group manager, I would say too, because I've had to attend all of the work group meetings for all 5 of them. And it's a great experience. It's a great experience to watch people come together, just be open about sharing. And it's a good time, we laugh, but we're about the business, and it's networking. You end up meeting people that you may not have met outside of this group and connecting as you move through the process. And you may decide, I was on this work group this year, but now I have more bandwidth, so I want to join this one next year. So, you know, it's evolving. There's always something we will be working on, so there will always be an opportunity. Our goal is to try to get 50% of our work group members with members that have disabilities, because we recognize that we need those voices at the table to make decisions. So with that, we're going to conclude our presentation. I'm going to share my screen one more time. With a great thank you again for everyone that came today. We've gone through the questions. And so I wanted to leave with this screen. This is the link to apply again, and also the QR code. So if you're familiar with the QR code, you would just aim your smartphone at the QR code in order to, and it will take you directly to the application also. So if there are no other questions, like we stated earlier, thank you for coming. We will send out a survey after the meeting. Look for it in your mailbox, if not today, tomorrow. And it will have this presentation deck included. And also you can go through and click on the links throughout the presentation to learn more about the Olmstead plan, about the sub-cabinet, the leadership forum, and the work groups. With that, I'm going to stop sharing just to make sure no one raised their hand while I was off. I'm going to give one more check. All right, so thank you everyone for attending. We hope to see your applications come through and hope to see you as part of our work groups that will begin in August. So after you submit your application, look for communication from us in early July. And then if you are selected, we will see you at the June 20th training meeting, and then at the appropriate work group meeting in August. Thank you again, and have a great day.